I get a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
All right, any additions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor of the agenda as submitted, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? So moved. Get a motion to approve the minutes for October 28th.
I move we approve the minutes for October 28th, 2024.
Second.
I got a motion to approve the minutes for October 28th. Any additions, corrections? Commissions, we have a position on participating and being part of one of these commissions. Just let us know and fill out an application. At this time, we will start with the public comments, and please limit your time to 3 minutes.
Nurse who worked at Eureka Springs Hospital for 2.5 years until this past April. I was hired as a compliance officer where my role was to ensure the hospital complied with relevant laws, regulations, and policies. Into my compliance policies, I was responsible for risk and safety. I was the infection control nurse. I oversaw quality assurance, and despite lacking experience, managed the IT department during a time of transition into a new EMR. As I stated in April, I was let go. I was told my position of compliance officer was being eliminated. I believe this was done in retaliation for speaking up to and against CFO, HR director, and a commission member. I want to clarify some simple definitions for you. A toxic workplace is a workplace that is stressful, unethical, cutthroat, disrespectful, and negative, and where employees feel punished, rejected, or humiliated. A hostile work environment is a workplace where an employee is subjected to discrimination, harassment, or retaliation that makes it difficult or uncomfortable to work. This behavior can be so severe or frequent that a reasonable person would find the situation abusive. In a legal setting, those speaking tonight and those who provided written statements to the city clerk, Ida, to read aloud will provide further evidence and substantiate the claims that a toxic and hostile workplace exists. Staff members met with Chair Kent Turner and included the CEO while voicing concerns about Cynthia Asbury, CFO, and Jody Edmondson, HR Director. Following that meeting, a letter was sent to the Hospital Commission excluding Vice Chair Barbara Dix due to perceived bias. Despite these efforts, the Hospital Commission's response was inadequate. The Commission voted to terminate the CEO and CNO, whom no allegations were brought. Commission promoted the HR Director to the interim CEO, and the CFO was placed on a 60-day performance improvement plan. This created further concerns to now include the Hospital Commission for their failure to investigate the underlying allegations prior to their actions. We request the immediate removal of Hospital Commissioners Kent Turner and Barbara Dix for cause due to their failure to perform their duties. We also call for immediate dismissal of Cynthia Asbury. Okay.
My name is Felicity Berner. I was hired as the admissions manager in April. In July, Cynthia and Jody informed me that an admissions employee was promoted to admissions supervisor. In a meeting in October, I asked an admissions question, and Jody stated the admissions supervisor is now the admissions manager, so she will handle that. I was not informed of this. My badge was not changed. I did not sign a new job description for my role until the following week. Roughly 3 weeks into my hospital employment, I experienced Cynthia's first unethical act. I learned that our assistant physical therapist was leaving and asked Cynthia if she was informed. Cynthia stated, and I quote, We just need to start all departments over with new staff, and that is what I intend to do. I was shown one time how to run insurance on one website and forced to train myself on everything else. I made an error with a patient's insurance. Cynthia retaliated and sent an email stating I was no longer allowed to schedule patients until she approved the insurance first. And having to do this, it delayed patient care. Lunch is automatically deducted after you have been at work for 4 hours. There were several occasions where I told Cynthia I was working through lunch so I could leave early for a doctor appointment. She told me the policy had changed and we were no longer allowed to do that, and my lunches were still deducted. I saw patient accounts with negative balances. This is due to being instructed to collect coinsurance no matter the amount and refund patients if necessary. Why place that burden on the patient? Why utilize hospital resources like this? After having a meeting with Angie, I received an email from Cynthia stating that I was not to leave my office for longer than 15 minutes anymore. If I was going to be out for an extended period of time, I would need to let her know where I would be and why, unless it was my lunch break. I have alpha-gal, which is a meat allergy. Even smelling it cooking sends me into hives and feeling like my skin is on fire. I asked Cynthia if I could send an email to all the directors upstairs that if they were to heat up meat, to please let me know so I could close my office door until the air clears out. She refused the email and said, no, I must go to each individual person and just tell them. I forgot my EpiPen the day that I left and went back to get it. The first day, Jody or Cynthia would not leave their office to retrieve it, so I had to come back the next day to get it and was told I was no longer allowed inside the hospital unless I had an emergency and was handed my EpiPen at the door. I am interested in resuming my previous position after the adjustments are complete.
My name's Alan Smith. I live in Western Carroll County. The hospital is an important part of care in this community. I'm speaking tonight in favor of continuing Eureka Springs Hospital, but I believe there is an infection at the hospital that needs immediate treatment. This infection involves both the hospital commission and the current management of the hospital after the firing of the Angie Shaw, the CEO, and the CNO. These problems have been revealed recently in our local news, and according to what I have learned from several of the people involved, are true, and to me, outrageous and shocking. Misrepresentation, micromanagement, and mismanagement by the commission and the current administration are making a toxic, intolerable workplace with employee morale at an all-time low. In addition to the issues outlined in the newspaper, I have heard from other patients instances of double billing patients for the same encounter, large bills to patients that should have been paid by insurance if proper billing had been processed, and patients demanded to pay large copays in advance that are not in line with how other hospitals operate. In my own experience, when I got my second knee replaced, I wasn't able to get physical therapy at Eureka Springs Hospital because they were booked solid. Now I find that Eureka Springs Hospital doesn't even offer PT at all, but rents the space to a private physical therapy business. This is a huge loss to the Eureka Springs Hospital's bottom line and a great loss to the community itself. And I thought outpatient therapy was part of the rationale for the grant funds to transition to the rural emergency status. I have often heard that no manager makes more than 50% good decisions, but what makes a good manager is the willingness to see and acknowledge their mistakes and make corrections. There appears to be no evidence of this at Eureka Springs Hospital at this time, but I have heard that Angie Shaw was trying even with her hands tied by the commission and was ultimately fired by the commission with no explanation. At my own recent appointments with doctors in Fayetteville, I found they were shocked at what's going on at Eureka Springs Hospital. walked out by the police? Really? It seems excessive. Eureka Springs owns an old building we call a hospital, but it is only a real hospital by virtue of a competent staff. HR has lost an incredible amount of talent through this ongoing fiasco. I don't think the Eureka Springs I know would tolerate this at City Hall or the public school or hopefully the hospital. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I stand here
State your
today.
name and please,
Do
name
what?
and address. Name and address.
Austin Kennedy, 186 County Road 2123, Eureka Springs, Arkansas 72631, business owner and taxpayer. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I stand here today as a concerned citizen deeply troubled by the actions of the recent decisions of the Eureka Springs Hospital Commission. This commission was entrusted with overseeing the hospital to ensure it remains open and functional for our community. Instead, we are seeing a pattern of retaliation, mismanagement, and intimidation, issues that have been clearly outlined in the series of articles by the Eureka Springs Independent. One of my main concerns is the complete lack of transparency and accountability in the recent firings of key staff members, including CEO Angie Shaw and Chief Nursing Officer Jessica Petrino. These are individuals who tried to address serious issues of low morale and harassment. Instead of supporting these efforts and to improve working conditions, the commission seems to have spent more time meeting in secret, scheming with current administration officials to remove them. What is really the commission's role? To protect the community and keep the hospital doors open, or to silence those who stand up for the well-being of employees and patients? We have also seen troubling questions around the investigation into harassment and bullying complaints. How can the mayor believe that an investigation led by the very individuals who are subjects of these complaints could be fair and unbiased? It defies logic and undermines any trust that the commission is actually interested in positive change. Furthermore, let's not forget the hospital's designation as a rural emergency hospital. It received $4 million in federal funding for this status, money intended to ensure the people of Eureka Springs have affordable, high-quality health care. This hospital isn't meant to be a cash cow for the town. It's here to serve our citizens, plain and simple. The time has come for this council to address these issues directly. We need a commission that prioritizes our community's health and overall personal vendettas, one that values transparency, accountability, and integrity. I urge you to step in and advocate for the commission that will truly support the employees and patients of Eureka Springs Hospital. Thank you. I yield the remaining balance of my time to the next Eureka Springs Hospital employee.
Like, why do we worry about the time? I'm so frustrated with that.
Hi, my name's Charlotte Bunyer. I'm a registered nurse and I worked at Eureka Springs Hospital from 2022 to 2024, and I just want to talk about some of my experiences there. First up, I want to talk about an EMTALA issue. I was given signs to hang in the ER that informed patients they couldn't be seen by a medical doctor if their reason for coming to the ER was deemed non-emergent by a nurse. I have a copy of the EMTALA law that I can give to you guys. I was told this is a new policy mandated directly from Cynthia Asbury. I didn't hang the signs up. Instead, I gathered them all along with a copy of the law enacted by Congress in 1986 known as EMTALA, the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. This law was designed to provide emergency care to all patients regardless of insurance status or ability to pay. It's tied to Medicare reimbursement, and severe violations can lead to termination of the hospital or provider's Medicare provider agreement. Fines can reach $100,000 per violation. I was thanked by the CNO at that time for not hanging the signs up and for putting the law in Cynthia Asbury's box, a copy of it. I was also told by the CNO that I should be careful. I feel like Eureka Springs Hospital can't have a CFO that's making decisions and creating policies about healthcare practices when she's not familiar with the laws. The other thing I'd like to speak about is HIPAA. One day during a shift, an administrator sent me a video clip from within the hospital. I asked him where he was able to get that from, because it was from our own surveillance systems. He said to me that all the administrators have access to this on their cell phones. I talked to administrators, they said that wasn't true. But I did find out I could log on from any hospital computer using a generic username and password. I could hear private conversations. I even had the ability to zoom in on cell phones, patient information, and written text. I brought this up to management on numerous occasions that policies must be put in place per HIPAA to monitor the usage of the system to protect the privacy of patients and the privacy of employees. I was told often that one commissioner, Barbara Dix, often watched the live feed from her personal residence. This is a huge HIPAA violation. It's going to cost tons of money. My suspicions of Barbara accessing these live feeds from her home was confirmed when I was told Barbara no longer has access to these anymore. And that was told to me by somebody here. And it confirmed my suspicions that this is happening. Also, I've been told by former and current employees that they are being used again. And Barbara and another commission member have offices in the hospital now, so they can access private healthcare information. How can we be sure patients are protected from the misuse of the hospital surveillance system? Is this who we really want running our hospital? So in the interest of the health and well-being of Eureka Springs residents, I urge every member of the City Council to act immediately to assume temporary responsibility or other just remedies for the Hospital Commission within this body's control until qualified commissioners are placed. I would like to ask for the immediate removal of Eureka Springs Hospital Commissioners Kent Turner, Chair, Barbara Dix, Vice Chair, and the dismissal of Jody Edmondson, HR Director, Interim CEO, and Cynthia Asbury, Chief Financial Officer. I'd like to yield any. I don't have any. And I did add, I counted it.
TJ Shaw, 257 County Road, Eureka Springs, Arkansas. I'm going to make this short and sweet because what everybody's saying up here, I'm going to be repeating a lot of the same stuff. First off, the healthcare professionals, the cornerstone of their profession is a patient advocate, and that's standing up for the rights for everybody they care for. This is ingrained in everything they do. But what example has this commission set by firing the people that brought these issues to light? And that's exactly what they did. You guys need to take the time and actually look into this, because these fine people didn't come here just because they have an ego and a vendetta to get back at people. And that's all I got. I'm going to yield all my time to the next person.
Hello, my name is Christine Pieper. I was hired by the hospital in June of last year in the dietary department with the expectation of becoming a certified dietary manager as required by our state rules and regulations. I studied and in September requested the fee of the exam, which is $399. I didn't get any information, no communication, until suddenly in February of this year, my boss was issued a check of $399 with no specific criteria of what the money was to be used for, but she assumed it was for the exam because it was for $399 and signed it over to me. The following week, I was reduced to 2 days a week and didn't think that they were going to keep the kitchen probably open, and I returned the money. But I am not a certified dietary manager that's required by the state. I did help keep records of temperatures as required. And then further down, a few months later, I read a memo on the nurses' station that if they needed food for a patient, they were to order it from a local restaurant. I was never given any of this information, and I would have been gladly I would have kept the time and temperature to avoid foodborne illnesses, as I am a food service manager. And then when my boss left, I was only given communication by paper. I was never given a log-on to any of the computers. I had to use my personal phone to clock in. And I went up to Jody's office and asked her how I was going to get my schedule because my boss was no longer there. And she goes, well, you can log into Paychecks and get it. I logged in and okay, I logged in and I was no longer able to clock in, so I thought I was terminated, but I never had a request to return my keys or my badge. So a few weeks later, I gave my keys to the commission, but you would think that that is something HR would have requested. And because of that, I urge that City Council to act immediately and assume temporary responsibility for the hospital commission until qualified commissioners are placed, and would like to ask for the immediate dismissal of Jody Edmondson and Cynthia Ashbury. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Melita Stubblefield. I'm a former employee. Better?
More.
One more?
There you go.
I'm a former employee of the hospital and a concerned citizen at this point. As a city resource, you must consider the incredible amount of talent that is being squandered due to exceptionally poor business practices at the hospital. The average nurse at this location has invested 4 years to get a degree, more for an advanced degree, and countless additional hours of continuing education as required by law. This is in addition to an average of 10 to 30 years of work experience. Specialists such as respiratory therapists, occupational therapists, and physicians have invested far more. These are resources you cannot replace. Once these people have left the area to find jobs elsewhere, how do you replace what's gone? There's a shortage of medical personnel nationwide. Rural hospitals are closing by the hundreds. Having a small rural hospital in your town is like finding a unicorn in your backyard. The hospital has always been the redheaded stepchild of the city. The physical facility has been held together and operational through the sheer willpower of Becky Burke, the head of the maintenance. When engineers deemed the old building unsafe several years ago, you know what the city did? Not a damn thing. It is still in use and still unsafe. As a former employee in administration, I can say that this facility is open to financial misdealings due to lack of oversight. Now an employee has usurped control of the financial operation of the hospital and seen to the dismissal of the qualified people who were hired to be in charge. Any person who has owned or operated a business can recognize bad management. Why has the employee with the least amount of education, a high school diploma, replaced a CEO with a master's degree in nursing? And why has the employee who is apparently responsible for this human resources nightmare still there? According to news reports, the federal government is allocating thousands of dollars to the hospital monthly. Don't you think it might just be a good idea to look into things with an accountant and an attorney? The good old boy mode of operation is significantly outdated and dangerous to the future of a small but fine institution. If I had any remaining time, I yielded.
My name is Susan Harmon. I live at 11 Summit Street here in Eureka Springs, and today is Veterans Day. Fergie's usually up here, so I thought I would do his thing today, but I do want to thank everyone for their service, those active and retired. It is a special day for the U.S. to honor these individuals each and every November, so I thank them for their service. City Council, you have before you updates to our B&B ordinance. We talked about this the last meeting. All I ask is that you seriously consider passing something that is enforceable. Last meeting, a CUP appeal was on your agenda, and while there was lots of discussion regarding manager status, not as much focus was on their lack of serving a hot breakfast or their change of use. If we are to be honest with ourselves, we all know that several businesses obtained B&B CUPs because that was the only license that was available at the time. These businesses never had any intention of serving breakfast and have made a mockery of all of us for asking about it. It's irritating to be on planning to have to call these people in and to hear constantly that they're serving a granola bar or they've got a little basket with some chips in it and things like that. So these so-called B&Bs are essentially operating as tourist lodgings. You know the saying, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. So I'm just asking that you seriously consider passing something that is enforceable. We are trying to do our job on planning. You try to do your job on city council. And of course, then the city has to do their job. But if we cannot pass anything that is enforceable, they just look at us like we're a joke. So that's all I have to say about that. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Diane Heinlein. I have lived in Eureka Springs for over 30 years. And until I started working there, my only experience with the Eureka Springs Hospital was a couple of ER visits with my mother, who had Alzheimer's, back before COVID. I was very pleased with the treatment that she received, and I was inspired by the staff. So in November of 2021, I started working as an admissions clerk in the ER. I worked there full-time and had the same schedule for over 2.5 years, which included both weekend nights, overnight shifts, 12 hours. During my 2.5 years at ESH, I had 5 different supervisors and only 1 job evaluation in late 2022. I never received a job evaluation in 2023, and in 2024, when I asked my supervisor, the admissions manager, Shannon McGee, about this, Shannon told me that the responsibility for evaluating the job performances of the admissions staff had been taken away from her by Cynthia Asbury, the CFO. At the end of March of 2024, I was notified of a drastic change in my schedule. This was done without any discussion or advance notice and was to take place the following week. When I asked my supervisor, Shannon McGee, about this, she told me she was no longer in charge of the scheduling of the admissions department, and the schedule change had been made by the CFO. So despite being very good at and enjoying my job, I decided I did not want to work in an environment that treated me so disrespectfully, nor was I able to adapt so quickly to a new schedule. I submitted my resignation, and my last day of work was in April of 2024. Back in 2023, Cynthia Asbury, the CFO, gave the admissions clerk a form to give to all ER patients who did not have insurance coverage. This form advised the patients that they would need to make a payment of $100 at the time of the visit and required their signature in recognition of this responsibility. This was in direct violation of EMTALA, the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, and should a complaint be made, the hospital risked a hefty fine. I am not a disgruntled employee. I was not laid off. I was not fired or terminated. I am a former employee and a resident of Eureka Springs who wants our hospital to be a quality resource for our community. I respectfully request that the City Council of Eureka Springs act immediately to remove Ms. Barbara Dix and Mr. Kent Turner from the Hospital Commission for egregious and unseemly conduct, and to assume temporary responsibility for the Hospital Commission. I also request the immediate dismissal of Cynthia Asbury, the Chief Financial Officer, and Jody Edmondson, Interim CEO, as they are the individuals implementing policies which create a hostile working environment and put the hospital at a legal and financial risk. Thank you for your time and for providing a safe place to allow us to speak our voice.
just got, what I have to say takes longer than 3 minutes, so I just thought I would give these to you.
Thank
So
you.
you can read them at a later time. My name is Tina Adams, and I am an employee of ESH for the past 5 years. I have received perfect evals with no disciplinary action from my supervisor. I have concerns regarding the conduct of several individuals. ESH has a violence in the workplace policy, which clearly states a zero tolerance stance towards intimidation, bullying, retaliation, and harassment, regardless of the individual's position. Cynthia Asbury stands at meetings creating a dominance and belittling environment. She uses phrases in emails like "you have been told" and "again," which asserts her authority in an aggressive manner. She glares at staff, making it clear not to dispute any issues. An example of her retaliatory behavior would be she refused to put up a railing at the clinic, even though we had a disabled employee, which is an ADA violation. It is still not completed. She has also said the following: lab and radiology staff can sleep on cots. She doesn't care. She will throw anyone under the bus to save herself. She will do and then ask for forgiveness. She oversteps telling providers what they can and cannot order. Her condescending tone and actions have fostered a climate of fear and intimidation within the facility. I have also experienced retaliation from Jody Edmondson, who has been inconsistent in enforcing policies. For example, I just put in my 5-week resignation because of approved vacation time. I was told I could not have it. My fellow coworker was allowed to do this very thing a month ago. She was paid her unused vacation time when she left. This is an issue of favoritism and retaliation. Other issues: vacation hours used even after 80 hours because I am salary. Holiday pay being used even when I worked the holiday. Not allowing to give copies of evals or write-ups to my staff. State inspection last week stated we needed enough staff to safely cover 24/7. We are short-staffed. I am salary, working over 100 hours per pay period, getting paid for 80. Not allowed to get on-call pay or callback pay. To go hourly, they will decrease my pay by $8.33 an hour, and I will lose 1 week of vacation to stay at a hospital 24/7 for 3 or 4 days in a row. Barbara Dix, Commissioner, exhibits intimidating behavior, pressured me to remove window blinds in the lab so she could see in, which would expose patient privacy and patient information from the computer, which is a HIPAA violation. She laughed at the loss of patient information. I have much more to say, but you have.
Hi, my name is Lori Long. I am a registered nurse of many, many years and live... Oh, Joy? Okay, sorry. I'll be back apparently.
Takes longer than 3 minutes.
You're giving us homework.
And I also have some statements from some other employees that couldn't be here that I emailed to Ida to read tonight, so I don't know if she's available to read those to you guys.
Thank you.
My name is Joy Kennedy, and I have been a dedicated employee of Eureka Springs Hospital, ESH, for 10 years, the last 3 of which I was the ER director and over trauma, stroke, sexual assault program. I was the only trained sexual assault nurse examiner. Sadly, I had to resign last Tuesday due to several reasons. I'll outline a few tonight. I've been exposed to a hostile and toxic work environment for some time now. Cynthia Asbury, CFO, has had a negative impact on the hospital since her employment. We've had an unbelievably high staff turnover. Her unwelcoming behaviors has affected me mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Her lack of respect, communication, and transparency has caused me great stress. Cynthia sends emails requesting that I review patient accounts and states that there are charge issues, but doesn't say what the issues are. And when I ask, all she says is, all I can say is there's charge issues, so you need to review. When I would tell her that certain procedure charges weren't dropping, she either didn't reply, blamed my nurses, or she said she could give examples of where the charges were dropping correctly. When I asked for those examples, she never responded. Cynthia portrays no teamwork or regard for her fellow coworkers. My travel reimbursement was cut short for a mandatory stroke conference, so I notified Cynthia and she said I was reimbursed per the travel reimbursement policy. I was unaware of any such policy. When I asked for the policy, I had to ask twice, and when it was provided to me, her name was the only name on the approval for the policy. Kent Turner, ESH Commission Chair, has continued to allow this and has been known to yell and slam his fist on the table, and I witnessed this in a recent financial meeting with him, Cynthia, Jessica Petrino, Jody Edmondson, and Barbara Dix. Kent has been made aware by the recently terminated CEO, Angie, of many staff and patient grievances and complaints, but he nor the commission took any action. Kent was recently called to a meeting with Angie and several of us employees, and he said that there would be no retaliation. That Friday, the commissioners voted to terminate Angie. The following Monday, in our morning huddle meeting, Commissioner Kate Dreyer was there. Jessica questioned who was going to be in charge since Angie's termination. Kate stated we would know more after the commission meeting later that day. Kate requested I report my duties to Cynthia and give her the ER inventory and PAR list, and that Cynthia would be the liaison. Why would I be reporting to Cynthia instead of my supervisor, Jessica? Maybe because the commission had already colluded with Cynthia and Jody and had pre-planned to terminate Jessica Petrino later that afternoon. Barbara has been known to walk into accompanied patient rooms, and she's been seen last week rummaging around offices, in which one of those were Angie Shaw's office, which is a HIPAA violation. Barbara has created a hostile work environment for staff, including myself, verbally and physically, with the intent to intimidate me, and
Hello. Hi, I'm Lisa Miller, former dietary director at Eureka Hospital. I worked there 2019 to 2024. I terminated my own employment when it became apparent to me that the dietary department would be dissolved. I watched patient care decline, then get better, but in the last 2 years of my employment, I watched patient care decline like never before. I personally have witnessed and experienced bullying, intimidation, and retaliation, not just to me, but to many, many others, at the hands of CFO Cynthia Asbury. It became a hostile work environment after she was hired, and many walk on eggshells in fear of retaliation from her, fear of losing their job. Never any consequences for her actions, never any accountability for her actions, seemingly untouchable. After repeated grievances to the commission, we still feel unheard. Many caring, dedicated, longtime employees that thought they would retire there have had to leave. Some voluntarily, some not. Some left because they felt their licenses were possibly on the line from the patient care that was being given. I feel Cynthia Asbury and Jody Edmondson are somehow protected, for the lack of a better word, from Kent and Kent Turner and Barbara Dix, shown by their reactions and actions from Kent and Barbara when we expressed our grievances against Cynthia and Jody to the commission. We all care for the future of the hospital. We are all concerned about the patient care, the decline of it, and we all hope we are heard this time. Thank you for your time. I relinquish my time. I relinquish my time.
Well, good evening. I'm Angie Shaw, former CEO of the hospital, but in my heart, I'm an RN. And to be honest, I was advised not to speak tonight by my counsel. However, hearing everyone's story, I have to say something. I want to mention one thing, and that Eureka Springs Hospital's brand is the hospital with a heart. The staff that have spoke before me are professionals and well-educated in their craft. And without them, the hospital has lost its heart, and the community will have lost a valuable resource. So I hope you truly listened to their concerns openly without bias tonight.
My name is Sharon Lawler. I'm the owner of the Bridgeford House at 263 Spring Street, and I just wanted to formally offer an objection to the ordinance that you want to pass that would require owner occupancy of the bed and breakfast. That obviously isn't going to impact me at any future, near future time, but it could certainly impact my children when I'm gone. I'm planning on sticking around. But I would like to formally object to that. The bed and breakfasts are not always built in such a way that they would be a good place to live as well as be a hospitable place. And I would also like to mention that I do bread and breakfast myself most of the time on the weekends. And this weekend Sunday was blueberry pancakes and bacon and eggs. So thank you very much for your time.
Hi, I'm Lori Long again. I'm a registered nurse and a former employee of Eureka Springs Hospital, and I left of my own volition. I have 3 stories very quick. 1, Barbara Dix came into the nurses' station, turned around and looked at my computer and said, "Well, what are you working on, dear?" And I said, "Ma'am, that's none of your business. That's a HIPAA violation. I can't allow you to stay back here." And she said, "I'm on the commission. It's okay." And I said, "Your commission against my license will win every time. Have a nice day." The second thing I would like to say, we had a patient once, I can't give you a ton of details, they had homicidal ideation. We ended up having a large remodel of a certain area of the hospital because of this patient, and they were, they attacked me. The patients on the rooms around us were calling their family members to come get them because they didn't feel safe. When I asked the chief nursing officer at the time why we can't have security, she directly told me, our chief financial officer is not going to approve that. And I said, not even to vet somebody, just in case. And I could not get an answer because they felt so strongly that they could not say anything to Cynthia. That says something to me. The last one directly affected me and is the reason I left. I was working with a doctor on a Eureka Springs citizen who needed to be ventilated. Our respiratory therapist, hours were cut down. I called her and said, "Hey, you're gonna have to walk me through, maybe FaceTime me on how to work this ventilator." And she said, what ventilator? We don't have any working ventilators. And I said, what do you mean, no working ventilators? And she said, well, you know how we got in a little argument with Cynthia? I got in an argument and we went back and forth and she didn't like me. She retaliated against me and she said, your form wasn't properly filled out. So I can't give you that test lung that we needed to keep 2 ventilators working, which are a requirement. And it was over a petty fight. I would also like to say one last thing. When I hired on there, I thought I knew a lot. I thought I was pretty certain of myself until I met the people I worked with. Do you know when I started there, every single employee, if we could have gotten 3 nurses combined with any one doctor, we would have every specialty taken care of. We had expertise in everything. That was because of that lady right there. And I will relinquish the rest of my time to anybody else that is a Eureka Springs employee.
Good evening. I'm Jim Wallace. I live at 320 County Road 210. And I'm here on behalf of my wife, spouse, Shannon McGee. She is an employee up until last spring at Eureka Springs Hospital. But first, before I share with her, I understand I'm not allowed to read her statement, but I would submit it to the group, if that's acceptable. Who do I give this to? I've got 3 copies.
It's all right for him to read his wife's statement.
Sure. Well, he's got 3 minutes. You can do.
Well, yeah, and she reads faster than I do. Okay. I might not get done in 3 minutes, but if I may submit that for the record.
Sure.
Thank you. The last thing I want to say is, on behalf of everybody here, there's such a number of people here presenting this issue, and it's not on the agenda. I want to just urge the commission to consider amending their agenda to consider this as a new business. And I'll conclude with my topic, with my discussion, and reserve my time.
Do it?
I've written comments.
Okay. Is there any other public comments before we get into the written comments that's been submitted? All right, go ahead. Please be quiet.
My name is Shannon McGee. I'm a former employee of Eureka Springs Hospital, where I worked from August 2022 through March of this year as admissions manager and central scheduler. I was also employed from 2014 to 2016 in medical records as a clerk and credentialing specialist. My experience with ESH is an employee, a coworker, a family member of a patient, and as a resident of Carroll County. When I say that I believe that our community needs this hospital, I do not speak lightly. I believe in the mission of the hospital. I do not believe in the ability of the current management, nor of the hospital commission to effectively command the finances, steward its resources, or care for its employees. What the patients see are the staff that cares for them. What they do not realize is that their care is being compromised by the management behind the scenes, including the hospital commission. There's a hostile and toxic work environment that have been developed and perpetuated by both Cynthia Asbury since her arrival and by Jody Edmondson for years. In addition, there are HIPAA violations and mismanagement of funds, all enabled by Kent Turner and Barbara Dix of the Hospital Commission. Through excellent reporting by local papers, I don't need to rehash the stories of former and current employees. I will speak of what I know personally. I've seen tears, anger, and hopelessness from former coworkers who express their love for ESH and the community, but also their fear and frustration as they were harassed, intimidated, and retaliated against by Cynthia, my supervisor, and Jody. The community at large will never know the extent of the personal sacrifices that employees have made to keep the hospital open and provide for its patients, including the former CEO, Angie Shaw. There was no transparency within the commission operations, HR issues, or other decisions that affected employees. When Angie Shaw was fired, current employees were left hanging for days. There was no notification or communication, only word of mouth. I received no support or help from my supervisor, Cynthia, nor Jody, when I had staffing shortages. I covered the shifts myself while being cautioned about accumulating overtime. I did not receive a raise or review in my time there and was largely unable to use my vacation hours due to staffing issues and other demands. I lost multiple hours of vacation pay due to an 80-hour accumulation gap. That's right, I had accumulated more than 80 hours and lost them because I was unable to take time off. Cynthia's micromanagement, stripping of the ability to create employee schedules for my staff, and this resulted in resignations and staffing shortages, 3 in a matter of days, in the critical area of ER admissions. I was directed to implement a new schedule that Cynthia and Jody created for me. When I did and the resignations began, I was confronted by Cynthia and aggressively grilled about how a pattern seemed to be developing with my employees quitting. After this, I was told I could not communicate with my staff without running it by Jody or Cynthia. At this point, I was not allowed to manage or advocate for my team, only to deliver bad news and disciplinary action as they requested. My own resignation followed, and adding to the extraordinary employee turnover rate at ESH. I felt powerless to talk to HR about any issues such as this because of the close relationship between my supervisor, Cynthia, and Jody. I was a direct witness to Barbara talking about watching the hospital surveillance feed from her home, which she's used to suggest improvements on how my staff worked and interacted with patients more than once. This is a HIPAA violation. I personally witnessed negative account balances for patients who had no idea that the hospital owed them money. In general, these existed because of an aggressive money upfront policy for outpatient visits that was initiated by Cynthia. I encourage any former patients of ESH to request a statement from the billing office. I can only summarize briefly issues that are pertinent to our requests this evening. I do so in this public forum with the full expectation that additionally retaliatory action will be taken against by the individuals I have mentioned here. It is, I feel, the price I pay for seeking to do the right thing for our community. I urge you, the council, to dig deeper and stop the hemorrhage of money, staff, and patients at ESH. I'd also like to ask for the immediate removal of Eureka Springs Hospital Commissioners Kent Turner, Chair, and Barbara Dix, Vice Chair, and the dismissal of Jody Edmondson, HR Director, Interim CEO, and Cynthia Asbury, Chief Financial Officer. To whom it may concern, my name is Brandon Davidson. I was employed by Eureka Springs Hospital in Eureka Springs, Arkansas from 2021 to 2024. This was a fantastic place to work up until a year and a half ago when Cynthia Asbury was hired as CFO. From day one, Human Resources knew that I had a disability. They moved our on-call room across the street in the basement of a clinic from a room that was previously used inside the hospital. I informed them that I was unable to walk down the side of the hill with loose gravel. They made the decision to put concrete steps down the side of the hill without a handrail. Did fall several times going up and down those steps. I notified my boss, which she had asked about a handrail being installed on multiple occasions. Several months went by, and then she had asked again about the railing, and Cynthia would not approve of the railing to be put in. It's a huge issue not only for me with my disability, but to anyone else walking up and down those steps. You would think addressing the importance of accessibility and safety issues would be more forthcoming, but it was not, which was both frustrating and disheartening, not only for myself, but also for anyone else. Employees are required under the American with Disabilities Act to provide reasonable accommodations to employees with disabilities. Moving a room across the hill may not be a reasonable solution without making necessary accommodations like safe access to it. I'm writing this because I am advocating for myself and the safety of others, which is incredibly important. Thank you, Brandy Davidson. No. My name is Radana Chrisman, and I am currently the only full-time medical laboratory technician at Eureka Springs Hospital, apart from the lab director, Tina. I would have preferred to address these concerns in person, however, I am currently out of state. Therefore, I am submitting this letter to share my experiences and raise serious concerns that I believe are impacting the hospital's ability to serve our community effectively. When I began my employment at ESH in June 2021, I truly embraced the hospital's reputation as the hospital with a heart, reflecting the small town community spirit. Unfortunately, over the past 2 years, I have observed a significant shift in the hospital's environment, and not for the better. During this time, I have witnessed numerous dedicated employees leave, many of whom genuinely cared about our community and the hospital's success. The management style at ESH, particularly from the CFO, Cynthia Asbury, and HR Director, Jody Edmondson, has become increasingly unprofessional, punitive, and authoritarian. I had to highlight some of the most concerning situations I have encountered. 1, lack of compassion and support. Over the 3 years, I have called in or left early from my shift only 4 times. One of these instances was due to an illness from COVID-19. On July 11, 2024, however, when I attempted to call in for my shift due to an extreme emotional state after the death of my beloved pet, I was informed by my supervisor that HR has instructed me to either show up or provide a doctor's note, or I would face disciplinary action. This lack of empathy during a difficult time was distressing and speaks to a broader issue of disregard for employee well-being. Number 2, excessive work hours and staffing shortages. On multiple occasions, I've been required to work 5 or 6 consecutive days. While I understand the demands of the job, these extended hours often mean I work 12-hour shifts, followed by being on call for another 12 hours. This results in 72 hours of guaranteed on-the-clock work, as well as 72 hours of on-call time, which means I must be available at any time frame within a 144-hour time frame. With little or to no relief as there is an insufficient lab staff to cover these hours, the strain on employees is immense, and this workload is unsustainable, especially for those trying to ensure quality care for our patients. Number 3, inadequate emergency room operations. On November 9th, 2024, I was working with a team of undertrained and inexperienced staff. We had only 1 PRN nurse, 1 shift key nurse, 1 nurse in orientation, and a newly hired physician who was unfamiliar with our hospital systems. Due to the sudden dismissal of the CEO and CNO, there were no nursing managers available for guidance or assistance. As the most experienced staff member in the hospital at the time, I was asked to help locate critical medications and equipment, such as stroke medications and chest compression devices, because no one else on staff knew where they were or how to use them. This is a glaring failure in emergency room operations, which could result in disastrous consequences for patient care, especially in urgent situations. If this had been a real emergency, the lack of proper training and equipment knowledge could have led to tragic outcomes. Number 4, critical lab tests no longer available in-house. Another significant concern is the recent removal of essential lab tests from our in-house capabilities. Previously, we were able to perform routine emergency tests, such as CK totals for rhabdomyolysis, lithium levels for overdose toxicity, and quantitative beta HCG tests for potential miscarriages. These tests were crucial for timely diagnosis and treatment. However, under the direction of the CFO, who has no medical training and background, these tests have been eliminated and patients must now wait 3 to 5 days for results. This delay can be life-threatening, especially in emergency situations. The CFO's decision to remove these services, despite the objections of physicians who explain their experience, raises serious questions about the hospital's commitment to providing care. These examples represent just a fraction of the issues I have witnessed at Eureka Springs Hospital. The lack of support, the strain on employees, the disregard for patient care, and the unprofessional management from CFO and HR director are deeply concerning. I respectfully urge the City Council to investigate these concerns and take all necessary steps to restore Eureka Springs Hospital to its former reputation as a vital community asset. The people of Eureka Springs deserve better, and the hospital has the potential to be a cornerstone of care in our community again. Thank you for your attention to this critical matter. Sincerely, Radonna Chrisman, Medical Laboratory Technician, Eureka Springs Hospital. Dear council members, my name is Drew Ellis, and I have proudly served at Eureka Springs Hospital for over 4 years. Unfortunately, due to my current duty at the hospital, I am unable to attend this meeting in person, but like to address the ongoing issues affecting our facility. Since the onboarding of our new CFO, I have observed an authoritarian leadership style that contributed to the rising tensions among staff. This environment has led to a high turnover rate that, despite its impact, seems to garner little concern from HR leadership or the commission. Currently, I am one of only 2 employed nurses, with the rest being contracted travel nurses. Despite cuts to our regular staff hours, travel nurses are scheduled additional hours with access to overtime at premium rates. Additionally, my schedule has been adjusted to prioritize travel nurses' availability, disregarding the needs of employed staff. In June, I was informed that the CFO and HR would no longer consider missed meal break requests a direct violation of state and federal labor laws. Recent policy changes have also impacted clinical staff adversely, specifically by removing paid holiday benefits unless we work on the holiday itself. Meanwhile, administration and ancillary staff continue to receive these benefits even when their regular schedules allow for holidays off. Last year alone, I worked 9 of 12 holidays and 8 the year before that. There have been statements in commission meetings that blame on nurses for the hospital's financial challenges affecting my reputation in the community. I'm dedicated to providing high-quality care, hold a bronze medal for fast stroke treatment through the AR Saves program with UAMS. The recent termination of our CEO and CNO appears retaliatory, as they previously raised concerns about inappropriate behavior perceived as harassment, discrimination, and even violence by CFO and HR. Despite assurances from the commission chief that there will be no retaliation, subsequent actions suggest otherwise. I am deeply concerned about potential conflicts within the commission's operations. Publicly available information shows that the hospital has operated on grants totaling $4.5 million and a monthly stipend of $270,000. Yet no operational budget has been established, a situation a capable CFO would have addressed swiftly. In light of these issues, I support a request for an investigation into the CFO and HR leaders and recommend restructuring the Commission's leadership by suspending the chief and co-chief of their duties. Thank you for the consideration and attention to these concerns. Sincerely, Drew Ellis. Dear council members, my name is Ethan Cooper. I am currently a contract nurse employee at Eureka Springs ER. I'd like to inform the council that we have lost all nursing leadership at the hospital. As a contract employee, we depend heavily on structured nursing processes and leadership to be effective due to our customary short employment. It was brought to our attention that on November 9th, 2024, a new employee and two employees that do not work full-time here relied on non-nursing staff to direct them on how critical processes are performed and where critical supplies are located. This is unheard of. In my employment of over 17 facilities in the past 10 years of my profession, never been placed in that scenario. They did not only terminate leadership but also structure for additional nurses to respond in emergency situations where patients' needs overwhelm the staff on shift. The failure of the commission to recognize hospital leadership is the patient safety and for licensing of the employees has motivated me to write this letter. I hope in explaining the situation the hospital is now is that more oversight of the commission can be taken before more hasty decisions can be made without thorough evaluation of the consequences on the community and staff. Thank you for your time and consideration. Oh, I think that's it.
All right. Can you please forward all those to the council members, please?
Mhm.
And anybody who was reading from a prearranged script and everything, if you would leave it here or get us copies, I would appreciate it so we can give it to the city council members, because there was a lot said, and I'm not sure we got all the notes down, so I would appreciate it. All right, that concludes. If there's no other public comments, that concludes our public comments for this evening. We'll continue on.
I think she has one more comment.
I can't hear it. You need to come. Yes.
There should be another statement from Elisa Miller that you received in that same email. It's 3 pages long.
Lisa Miller already came and spoke, didn't she?
Yes, but this talks about an incident between her and Cynthia.
She gets her public comments. She already came and made, but I'll forward it to the council.
Alrighty, thank you.
All right, that concludes our public comments, and we'll start off with unfinished business. And first item of unfinished business is a bed and breakfast ordinance. Get a motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right, we got a second reading for ordinance 2364 on ordinance amending ordinance 2364.
I have a couple.
McClung.
Oh,
I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules and read ordinance number 2364 for its second reading by title only.
I'll second that.
I'd like to note that we have an amendment. Want to wait until we get everybody clear here?
Yes, please.
We had an amendment the last time to add 8 Washington to the list of existing conditional use permits under section 10.
We can add it anytime.
Well, we need to make a motion to amend the ordinance to add 8 Washington under CUP with 2 units under R1 to amend this ordinance.
Who asked for that amendment?
Beg pardon?
Who asked for that amendment?
We did that amendment when we passed 8 Washington the last time.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. McClung?
We can go ahead and read it for its by title only, and then we can make the amendment.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, we got a motion to read it by title only, suspend the rules and read by title only, and second by Mr. Myers, I believe. Any further discussion? Yes,
Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to ask Susan to come back up to the mic.
Susan, are you here?
Yeah, she's there.
Yep.
I've got my partner in crime with me.
Got your
Go ahead.
shadow with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
In your public comments, you said that, something about you want us to pass an ordinance that's enforceable. And I watched your workshops and your meetings and stuff, and I thought this is the ordinance that you all want. Is this not the ordinance you want?
It is.
Okay.
But based on our CUP appeal that came in, we had taken a CUP away.
Right.
And I'm not faulting anyone at this table, but there seems to be resistance in saying what a breakfast is and what a breakfast isn't.
Right.
We don't mind calling people in when we feel like they are not doing what their license says they are supposed to do. The issue we have is that if they are basically going to say, yeah, I'm a bed and breakfast. That's the license that I want. Or that's the license that was available.
Right.
And this is the license that I have. And we say, but you mentioned no breakfast on your website. You claim you're doing a breakfast. What is your breakfast? It's a granola bar and it's, you know, an orange or a banana or whatever. I don't think, and this is just my personal opinion, we've had this discussion for years, I just don't think that any commission, not just all of you, is or has been able to say a bed and breakfast is a place that serves a hot breakfast and a breakfast, not granola bars, a bag of chips, just to appease the ordinance. And so all I'm asking is that there is something that is, that the ordinance is something that is enforceable, because we have on our agenda coming up additional bed and breakfasts that have B&B licenses, that have B&B CUPs in residential zones, that mention nothing about breakfast on their websites.
Right.
If we were to take those licenses away, they are going to appeal to you all again. And what is the answer going to be? So all I'm asking is that you consider a ordinance that is enforceable.
So this ordinance that you, in your commission provided us, doesn't talk about a breakfast.
It does. It
does?
does say in there a breakfast.
Where's this? I've read it. I can't.
Andy, you have
Am I missing it?
Like, is it section 5?
Go ahead.
It doesn't define what a breakfast is, but in section 1, it says a dwelling or area containing one or more structures, at least one of which is occupied owner on site, where for compensation, lodging and breakfast are provided.
Okay. I'm sorry. I missed it. I read through it. I didn't see that.
One more my question. Do you want us to add Washington Street?
We passed that last time.
It's already done.
We did the
passed
appeal
the
last meeting, so really this has nothing to do with 8 Washington.
They appealed to the city council, and the city council
Passed it.
agreed with that appeal. Mr. McClung?
Do you want hot breakfast included? I mean, is that what you're saying?
I just want some, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying that if you're going to pass an ordinance, do something that's enforceable. I think a huge step has been made by us saying that any B&B in a residential zone has to be owner occupied. I think that's huge. I think that's a big item. The question always has been, and we've had the same discussions over on planning, well, what's a breakfast? Well, I don't care if they do a Pop-Tart or if they give you a banana. If they're not advertising a breakfast and we take their CUP away, it's going to end up here. And you are going to have the same discussion. And we need to make sure that this ordinance is
And you need
enforceable.
to define breakfast.
Well, again, this is not my discussion anymore. This is yours.
So,
So-
it is. If it's tabled and put back to you guys because you want a
Okay.
definition of breakfast, I think if that's what you're saying, if you want it
Okay,
to be
then-
that restrictive, then you need to ask for that.
Well, it's either there is a
asking us to
breakfast
come
or
up
there
with it.
isn't a breakfast. And if you do that, you've got to make sure that it's enforceable. Because we're not the last stop. You're not the last stop when it comes to enforcing, right? So,
Ms. Swain?
What are the requirements for food preparation for a B&B?
so for our establishment, we have to be inspected by the health department.
Okay.
Okay? If you have 5 rooms. Okay, so Ann says it's if it sleeps more than 10. I was always told it was 5 rooms because typically there's 2 people in each room. But if it sleeps 10, then you have to be inspected by the health department. Anything under that, they're not required to be inspected by the health department. I'm not going to go into the history too much, but my understanding was that's why I have 10 rooms and some others have a few more than 5 rooms. But the general consensus was years ago that if we just keep it at 5 rooms, then nobody has to be inspected by the health department, which was an advantage for.
That's so bad.
Right.
That's so bad.
So,
I mean, it's so dangerous to have people preparing food that have no idea about food.
well, and you have to have your kitchen done a certain way and everything like that too. We've got a health inspector probably coming this week to come see us. So just FYI for anybody out there, they're going to be in town.
Mr. Meyer?
Well, okay, yes, we did approve their appeal last week in 8 Washington, but then we find out that their live-in person is not staying in the residence. They're staying in one of the rentals. So there's 3 rooms and 3 bedrooms in that other one, and there's no parking. So it seems like they're really
we really
slipping.
understand we think that we really have a grasp on what the ordinances say. I know Ann's been on planning, I've been on planning, Tom's been on planning. We just get so aggravated at somebody coming in and just saying, well, of course I'm doing breakfast, this is what I'm doing. Or knowing that really they're advertising as a tourist lodging. So it's not going to hurt my feelings. I don't think it's going to hurt Ann's feelings if you decide owner-operated or owner-occupied is sufficient. It's not going to hurt our feelings if we outline what a breakfast is. I think the most important thing for planning is that we want to make sure that there is something that is enforceable at the city level. So, and I'm not faulting the city either. I'm just saying that let's just get it right and make sure that it's enforceable this time.
Mr. Holyfield?
So I just want to make this clear. The reason planning did not put that in here because the majority of people on planning didn't agree with that, right?
No. When that was put together, that was before 8 Washington.
Right.
And based on 8 Washington, a lot of the things that we took the CUP away for were not, I guess, in this table's thought process, enforceable. And so looking at that and saying, well, what is a breakfast? Or what is required? Can they just do a granola bar?
So
Essentially what they are is they're tourist lodging. And I'm not saying just 8 Washington. I'm just saying that if that's what you're doing, you're a tourist lodging.
Right. So you submitted this and then you realized, hey, we should have defined what hot breakfast was?
We submitted it and realized that there are shortcomings as to what people believe is a bed and breakfast. That's what we believe a bed and breakfast is.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that that's what everybody believes a bed and breakfast is when it comes to an appeal, when it comes to a show cause, or when it comes to enforcement.
So should this go back to planning and zoning and you all adjust this and bring it back to us?
I mean, that's up to you, but just to kind of put it in perspective, I don't think the health department would want to do inspections if the intent was that it wasn't cooked or served there. I mean, having a bed and breakfast is not like it is in a Hallmark movie. It's a lot of work. But it started out as a home-based business. It was your home. And there's a big difference between the people that actually live at these bed and breakfasts and what they serve and the good job that they do versus a manager or the people that have come to us when we no longer have tourist lodging and, oh, yes, we're going to do a bed and breakfast, haven't advertised even as a bed and breakfast, advertise that they serve breakfast, and now they're being called in and they're all like, oh, my God, this isn't fair. Well, these are residential areas. This is not commercial. This is our residences. So the health department has inspections for a reason. So.
Ms. Slane?
Just based upon the health department having to come in at a 10-bedroom or 10-head, whatever it is, I think that that's what should be considered a bed and breakfast. If the health department has to come in and it's determined that it's 10 and over, then that's a bed and breakfast. You can have one. Anything under that, maybe that's the owner lodging. Because if the health department doesn't have to come in, then how are you preparing breakfast?
Mr. Meyer?
I think that these are bed and breakfasts, and in my opinion, all bed and breakfasts should have their kitchen inspected. We don't know what they're serving for breakfast. We don't know if they give Pop-Tarts today and they cooked eggs tomorrow, so it needs to be inspected. It's a bed and breakfast.
I think that sounds great in theory, but I think the health department would probably say, it's not on the books that we have to do that. So I don't think that would necessarily go anywhere.
So it's state law that you have to have a health department?
Yeah, it's
If it sleeps 10 or more, right? Which means so if you've got 5, if it sleeps 10 or more, so if you've got 5 units, that's 10 people, and you live there, that's 11. You need to be inspected by the health department, and we have several, quite a few of them actually.
Can I say a few things? I'm kind of new and I want to ask a few things.
Well, just a second. So should we ask of our bed and breakfast to supply their health department inspection if, in fact,
It's online. You can look online and find any health inspection.
Okay.
So they're all online, and they'll show what items are deficient and whatever. So those are there, and it's just public information through the state of Arkansas. But, I don't think we're trying to tell you what to do. I think, what we submitted was what we felt was the right thing. But then based on our appeal, we realized that we're not all on the same page. And we're going to continue to call people in for show causes for specific things based on how our ordinance is written or what we believe is a bed and breakfast. And if we all don't agree on that, then we're not going anywhere. Because inevitably, somebody's going to get to the first stage, second stage, third stage, and what are we going to say to them? We're going to say, well, I guess granola bars are okay because it's not defined in our code.
Right.
So.
Can I say just 2 things real quick?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Ms. Greening, you had a question?
Who? Oh.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah. So I think for me, what I'm hearing, I totally agree with you, Susan, that if they advertise as a bed and breakfast, or they have a bed and breakfast CUP, they should absolutely advertise that they are a bed and breakfast. I don't disagree with that. The one on Washington, we've already had the appeal come through. They should be advertising as a bed and breakfast. They should be serving at breakfast. What they serve, I don't think we have control of right now. We say a meal, we say a breakfast, but I think as long as they follow what you have in this current draft, that is a really good start. So if they get caught and they come back to us, that doesn't mean we're going to approve everybody, because I think we are in the same, mindset, especially with this new draft and moving forward. But I don't know, honestly, that I agree with telling people what they should or not or should not serve. But I think they should list it on the website, what they offer. There are some that offer gourmet breakfast, and there's some that it's a continental breakfast.
Can I just say one thing that applies to all this, 2 things, real quick? First off, I'm still new at this, but I think that my job on the commission is to enforce the ordinances that you establish. So our job is to, once you have an ordinance, when somebody violates that ordinance or approves it, our job is to enforce that. I wish that you could do an industry, you folks could set an industry standard
what is the breakfast for a bed and breakfast. You know, just do all of the bed and breakfasts that are established right now and say, this is just generally what a bed and breakfast is, because if you put it so obtruse or whatever that we can't enforce what you guys have established, because you're the ones that set the laws. You should say that this is what the industry standard for Eureka Springs is for a breakfast, and just do it kind of a general meaning where that means taco chips or a breakfast, and then our job is to enforce and approve or deny an application based on what you said is a standard. So I just wish that the city council could set a standard for the definition of a breakfast for a bed and breakfast, not for a short-term rental or anything like that. Just set your job is to make a stand on an issue. We're having a big issue right now is what defines a breakfast. You know, so I wish that your job is to sit there and make a standard for Eureka Springs, not for the world, not for the entire planet, what a breakfast is. And that would be like a survey of all the established bed and breakfasts and just do a general idea. Because our job, if we deny a CUP because we think that bed and breakfast with a bag of Fritos, and then you guys override us, then you're setting the standard of saying anything is acceptable. Is that what you want? Is that what you guys want us to do? Is say that anything that they provide, be it a bag of Fritos or a chip, establishes them as a bed and breakfast? We will enforce that. But is that what you want? You know, so that what is your definition of a bed and breakfast?
Mr. McClung?
I'm really confused, quite frankly. I mean, you know, they presented it to us like this. So I think this is what we should run with. Now, if we need the amendment, you know, to add in Washington Street, that's fine, to put it on the list. You know, I wasn't here for that meeting, but I did watch it. And I knew what my inclination was prior to that meeting. And when I watched that meeting, the Planning Commission went along with what the people were saying. And so it opened the door for this commission to go ahead and override what they did. That was the way I saw it from TV land. Not sitting here, but from out there. And so, you know, there's what was done was done. And so they're in as far as I'm concerned. I don't think we can define breakfast. I don't think the health department is going to get involved because they can't dictate what a person's going to fix every day for somebody anyway. They're not going to do that. And I don't think we can do that, like Susan said. So, I mean, I think, yes, they should advertise it as a bed and breakfast and that they serve breakfast. And if they don't provide it, it's not up to standard, then the people won't come back. Yeah. You know, they'll knock themselves out of the business. So I think we can only do that.
I would like to say, and Ms. McClung, I know you've been on the Planning Commission, the same as I have, and at some point we tried to define what a breakfast was, and that got into a ball of...
Oh, terrible.
A hairball. You know, and that's the reason it's not in here now, because we couldn't ever come up with that definition. But anyway, Ms. Gruening, you had your hand up. You're on mute. Ms. Gruening.
So I was going to basically say everything that Mr. McClung said. And since it was said, and I feel that at the last meeting that the Planning Commission, I thought I heard that Washington did everything they were supposed to do. So I think that they are in the current ordinance as it reads today. So I motion we go ahead and approve the second reading for this ordinance. That I don't think we're going to be changing the breakfast definition. So I just think we move on and go ahead and approve the second reading.
Ms. Slane.
So what if we did do the 10 and under is owner occupied? What does that look like? Is there tons of those? Is there tons of beds and breakfasts with 10 and under that are not required to have a health permit?
We have a number of them. We don't have issues with those. The ones we are having issues with the most are the ones that are managers. These last group that came through after we got rid of all of our tourist lodging.
Okay.
And we're addressing that. But moving forward, and I totally agree, by making it owner occupied is going to make a big difference. And of course, that is upon transfer only. If you have a manager now, that doesn't mean you have to get rid of the manager and move in. It would be when you sold or transferred the CUP or the grandfather.
I just feel like you can't define breakfast. You could say warm meal, but that still means like they could serve a Pop-Tart that's warmed up. Like it wouldn't even have to be.
It is up to the consumer.
Absolutely, but I think that by us saying bed and breakfast and allowing somebody to say, yes, you're going to cook, I feel like that I want the health department to look at their kitchen. That's what I feel like as...
I don't, but I agree. I mean, the health department has certain rules. I don't know that we could call them and say we want...
No. Never call them, but their rules are already, they will inspect at 10 and over. So maybe our rule should be, it's a bed and breakfast if it's 10 and over. 10 and under, it's an owner occupied.
I don't get it.
And then forget the breakfast.
It's already owner occupied in the ordinance.
So the bed and breakfasts are only 10 and over.
No. Owner, bed and breakfast says it's on-site, owner shall live on-site.
It gets rid of the manager.
I think she's talking about a total different category.
Oh.
Bed and breakfast, and then a different category, then lodging. I was a single.
Yeah, because I thought we were trying to get rid of the bed and breakfast or at least have better requirements for what was needed. And if we're going to
I don't think the intent was to get rid of the bed and breakfast, maybe cap it, but this food thing came up with the Tower House.
Okay.
And now it's come up with a couple more that are on the line because...
It's easy to do and to say, oh, well, this is what I'm doing.
And our hope is to get them in compliance.
Mr. Myers?
Well, Mr. Attorney, if we add 8 Washington to this list and we just approved their CUP last meeting, which I think the count that it came here because they didn't approve it. They appealed it to us. And we just told planning, nah, it's all right. We're going to approve this. We're going to ignore all this paperwork that was sent to us, all the work that they had done. So, okay. But anyway, if we add them to this list and we say it's got to be owner occupied, does that mean they're going to have to move here, Mr. Attorney?
No.
Huh?
No. We can't do that.
We can't.
We can't do that. I will just say this, and we'll move on. 8 Washington is still in violation, and the Planning Commission will be addressing that later on.
Mr. Attorney, any of these CUPs, any of these where the people aren't living there, if we pass this ordinance, are they going to have to live there? Yes or no?
It's not a yes or no question. There's no yes or no
Are
answer.
we just making ordinances for our health?
Mr. McClung?
They can continue with a manager until they transfer ownership.
They'll never transfer.
Well, they're going to sell it to somebody.
That's in the ordinance.
Section
6. As we got right now.
Then it has to transfer. And that's what the woman that was speaking earlier from up on Spring Street, that's what she was referring to.
Mr. Holyfield?
So we can't go back and make We can't go back and make people that have managers
Right.
move here and run it. So it's only going to apply to the people in the future, or if it changes hands and stuff like that. So, and last week, when they came up and talked to us, I'm sure as Terry watched on TV, Susan and everybody said that they had fixed everything that was wrong, and they were actually okay with us approving their CUP, right, Susan?
No. It fixed many things. So they had listed on their website that they're, and I don't want to really bring, I now regret saying the property. They fixed many things, the last property did. But again, we've got a meeting tomorrow, and the biggest issue is none of the other stuff anymore. We've got owner occupied, we're not going to allow managers anymore, we're changing some of the other little things like what's a room, what's a unit, that kind of thing. They can't have managers when they transfer. The biggest thing that I guess I was trying to address is, the most important thing is, let's make sure that this ordinance is enforceable.
Right.
And what that means is maybe something different for each one of us. But let's just make sure that it's enforceable. Either we rewrite an ordinance that says that all B&Bs go away and they're now called owner occupied, or we leave what we have in here and just say that they have to serve a breakfast, knowing that we're never going to agree on what a breakfast is, that we're going to be fine with what Mike said, a bag of corn chips, and we're just going to let it go at that. So
We're getting, we're arguing
I
the
know,
same
and I'm
thing.
trying.
I mean, so Ms. Lane, everybody's already talked about 3 times here. Go ahead.
I know, but I think that, in my opinion, and I'm going to say it one last time and then I'm done, but on section 1, where it says, shall be admitted to bread and breakfast, a dwelling or area containing 1 or more structures, that should say 10, because that's what the health code requires.
The health code requires that you have an inspection if you are serving, if you can accommodate 10 people or more. So 10 people.
So it would be 5.
Well,
because it would be 2 per room.
2 per room.
Okay.
Yeah. So
containing 5 structures.
If you wanted to clarify it that way, you could.
They're not,
Because I
they're
think-
not structures.
Well-
They're not individual structures.
I know, but you're getting hung up in the details. What I'm saying is that if you link it with the health department and do what they, their 5 rooms, then that automatically makes them have to have a kitchen of some sort and some sort of dedication to having a breakfast. Otherwise, it's an owner-occupied situation, and the rest is history.
I don't know if they necessarily would have to do that, and I'm starting to regret that I just asked for an ordinance that is enforceable. I'm not sure that they would have to do that. Health inspector could still come in, and they could still serve, honey buns and juice.
Of course.
But they still have to be inspected, yes.
Of course. But it would encourage, somebody with a real kitchen is going to be more encouraged
But
to
it
do
wouldn't
that.
necessarily encourage them to still cook a hot breakfast.
Still wouldn't make it enforceable.
So.
If anything,
did you
I
have
would say advertise what breakfast you're serving. So that, it says on their website.
We got a motion to read this by title only, suspend the rules and read by title only. We had a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Leave word out.
Terry McClung,
Yes.
Harry Meyer,
Yes.
Adam Slane,
Yes.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Susan Gruning.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2364, an ordinance amending Title 1408 of the Eureka Springs Municipal Code regarding zoning districts.
Okay. Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion that we amend this to the existing conditional permit to bed and breakfast to include, what's the address for Washington
8
Street?
Washington.
8 Washington Street.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that? All right. call roll call on the amendment.
Sure. Autumn Slane,
Yes.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Terry McClung,
Yes?
Susan Gurning,
Yes.
Harry Meyer.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2364 on its second reading.
I second.
And Mr. Klung made a motion to approve ordinance 2364 on second reading. Mr. Myers seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Susan Gurning,
Yes.
Harry Meyer,
Yes.
Terry McClung,
Yes?
Autumn Slane,
Yes.
Steve Holofield.
Yes.
All right. Is that it for everybody? All right, we'll pick this up at our next meeting. Our next item of business is sewer update. I think we've got Mr. Simons here to give us an update.
Motion to discuss.
In your packet, there's also a letter from McClellan Engineers. Give us another additional information.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right, I prepared a little summary here, kind of what I wanted to talk about. So just a little bit of background on what's going on at the sewer plant. In 1987, the city invested into the wastewater treatment plant with the addition of a new primary and secondary clarifier basin. As regulations from the EPA and ADEQ changed, the city added new sequencing batch reactors and repurposed the secondary clarifier basin and sludge storage basin. When that work was completed, the clarifier assembly from the center of the basin was not removed, nor of any of the lines that went to that center of that basin. None of them were removed or blocked off. In September 2024, I noticed that there was excessive sludge in Leatherwood Creek. The sludge was not the result of a visual overflow that we received, but rather from a sludge storage basin leaking. We declared a state of emergency to gain emergency funding and hired J.L. Bryson to perform the repairs to the sludge storage basin. Once the basin was emptied and cleaned out, we found that the pressure-reducing valves, or PRVs, in the floor of the basin were damaged from rags and debris, which caused the leaking sludge. J.L. Bryson removed the old clarifier assembly from the center of the basin and installed new PRVs. J.L. Bryson also sealed all the old piping holes in the basin and installed a new decant line and new sludge draw line. We also found an old aeration device at the bottom of the basin that was added at an unknown time. This device was damaged with the steel sections from the old clarifier that broke off and fell into the propeller of it. And it was also not adequately sized to perform the task that it was installed to perform. So far, J.L. Bryson has performed approximately $212,500 worth of repairs to the sludge storage basin. This work included the rehabilitation of the two clarifiers, replacement of the PRVs, relocation of the sludge pump from the old maintenance building to the sludge processing building, and the fabrication installation of a basket to catch any trash and debris that may enter the rehabilitated sludge storage basin. The only thing that needs to be approved at this time is aeration itself. We received a few quotes and proposals for diffused air and also a floating aeration assembly. The diffused air aeration with decant valve would cost approximately $296,250, and the floating aeration with decant valve would cost $213,750. All of the proposals received were forwarded to Mr. Rick Pulverini, I hope I was saying that, who's the engineer reviewing the proposals from McClellan Engineering. Rick has recommended the floating aeration option, which is also the cheaper of the two options. This purchase is non-budgeted and will be paid utilizing the water sewer fund, and that we recommend the approval to purchase and install the Aqua Turbo floating aeration and Aqua Turbo decant for the cost not to exceed $213,750. So, stand for any questions or discussion.
So which one of those aeration systems would you like us to get? You're going to be maintaining it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a tough question to answer, really. There's different things that we have to look at, and one of them is like, how long is it going to take us to get these supplies, because we need to get something in there pretty quick. Another is maintenance, long-term maintenance and stuff like that. And there's pros and cons to each of the different options. The aeration, it's just how do we go forward from here and make sure that we're putting in the right thing for the longevity of the city. I kind of agree with Rick's assessment on that cheaper option at this time for the floating aeration. And the reason I say that is because we actually put that basin back online and we're using it now. So in order to put a decanter, diffused air aeration grid at the bottom of that, we'd have to drain the whole thing out and start all over again with the whole cleaning operation of that basin and everything else. Plus, we don't have the room right now for the compressors that are going to be required to provide air for the diffused air. So, I think for the time now, I think the Aqua Turbo floating aeration is adequate.
How do the pumps come along?
So you're talking about the sludge pumps, I assume? Yeah, so we have one sludge pump and it's being relocated. We're removing it from the old maintenance building and putting it in that sludge processing building. And then we have a second pump that we sent off. It was probably early springtime, and the vendor kind of quote unquote lost it. They found it though, so we should have it back here any day now, remanufactured. So hoping for that to come in here pretty quick.
Anything else from anyone?
Well, after we're done with the process you're doing now, of course, the big deal is when you can get the basket to catch the crap the junk that's going out the pipe. And
I think that'll be this week too.
Oh, cool.
I think so. I think everything is already on its way. We're waiting on a couple of valves for to relocate the sludge pumps, but they're supposed to be here, any day now. So I think hopefully by the end of the week we're done with this whole sludge bouncing around basin to basin, and then and we're actually able to process sludge like we're supposed to.
When's the sludge press going to get the new parts put in?
I talked to Terry last week about it, and we were looking at possibly doing that tomorrow. We just have to see if the vendor's available to be here tomorrow.
Cool. That's all from me.
All right, and I think as we follow right into this next item, it's the financing verification of the sewer plant. You kind of touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, these two agenda items are kind of the same because, the last one we talked about, Rick, over there with the city of Springdale doing the review of the McClellan's work. He's reviewing the work that we're doing. We're not really adding anything that wasn't there before. It's just we're having to put new in there, and that's the only reason I'm asking for approval.
Just replacing all the junk that was
We met last week, and that's a report that y'all have in your packet with McClellan to kind of go over where we are and where we're going. We will be getting together and having another presentation to the council on the big project, which is basically the repair and doing the sewers. Yes, Mr. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I see here on page 3 of this McClellan handout, are requesting the $6 million. This is under number 2, project funding, requesting the $6 million, and the owner must attend the NRD commission meeting, Little Rock. Who attends that? Is that you? Is that McClellan? Who has to be at that
McClellan
meeting?
will help us put in the application. I'm not.
Do you know who's supposed to attend that meeting?
don't?
Is that?
I've not been to one yet, no.
Yeah, that's the, Michael and I are going down to Little Rock along with McClellan.
On the 30th for that meeting? Okay.
And that's for financing.
Yeah. Yeah, owner must attend. We've got to attend that, and that's November 30th. So Michael and I are going to go down there and talk to him.
Cry,
cry.
roll
We-
around,
we tried
beg,
that
whatever you
before.
got to do. I don't care. We need it.
You remember you and I did that once, and we didn't get very far.
No, we didn't.
I
No.
think we showed the door, so thank you very
Maybe-
much.
Maybe things have changed.
Of course, we were asking for free money then, too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, big difference.
yeah.
So do you guys have any objections with the aeration system?
Huh?
Do you guys have any objections to that aeration?
No,
I don't think so.
I'm going to trust you.
Fair enough.
All right.
Thank you.
You got the license.
Okay, that brings us up to our next item of business, which is ordinance amending the parks membership. And this will be the third and final reading. Get a motion?
Motion to discuss.
I'll second that.
All right, this is third and final reading to amend the parks membership to include a member from outside the city limits.
What is that ordinance number?
2362.
Pardon me?
2363?
I mean, yeah, 63.
What is it?
2363.
2363. I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules and read ordinance number 2363 by title only for its third and final reading.
Second.
Mr. McClung made the motion, and Mr. Myers seconded to read 2363 by title only.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Terry McClung,
Yep.
Susan Gruning,
Yes.
Autumn Slane,
No.
Harry Meyer.
Yeah.
Ordinance number 2363, an ordinance to amend Parks Membership 1204020B.
I move to approve ordinance.
She's got to read it.
She's got to read it.
Yeah.
I already read it.
Yeah, she did.
I just read it.
She
You
did.
did?
Yeah.
I move to approve ordinance 2363
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Third and final reading.
on its third and final reading.
Second.
I apologize.
All right, Mr. Meyer made the motion to approve the ordinance on third and final reading. Mr. Holyfield seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Harry Meyer,
Yes.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Susan Gruning,
Yes.
Terry McClung,
Yes.
Autumn Slane.
No.
All right, thank you. Okay, that concludes our unfinished business. We'll start into our new business with an ordinance vacating a section of Carroll Street. Motion discussed, Mr. McClung.
I'd like to make a motion that we assign this ordinance a number and read it for its first reading.
All right.
Did we have a motion to discuss?
We can go ahead and write into that. We don't need a motion discussed necessarily.
Really?
Really?
I don't know why we just don't do that all the time.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
I didn't know the mayor could
Thanks,
make a
Mr.
motion
Green.
to discuss an ordinance either.
All right. There's motion been made and seconded to sign this number and read for the first reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, so moved.
Assigning ordinance number 2365, an ordinance vacating a portion of Carroll Street between Block 221 and Blocks 195 and 194 of the Riley and Armstrong Survey. Whereas a petition was duly filed with the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, on the 14th day of October 2024, asking the City Council to vacate and abandon all that portion of Carroll Street designated on the plat of the Riley and Armstrong Survey of the city between Block 221 and Blocks 195 and 194 per Chancery Court order filed in Book EE, page 654. Whereas after due notice, as required by law, the council has, at the time and place mentioned in notice, heard all persons designated to be heard on the question and has ascertained that the street or portion thereof hereinbefore described has heretofore been dedicated to the public use as a street herein described, has not been actually used by the public generally for a period of at least 5 years subsequent to the filing of the plat, that all the owners of the property abutting the portion of the street being vacated have filed with the council their written consent to the abandonment, and that public interest and welfare will not be adversely affected by the abandonment of the street. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, Section 1, the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas releases, vacates, and abandons all its rights together with the rights of the public generally in and to the street designated as follows. The portion of Carroll Street designated on the plat of the Riley and Armstrong survey of the city between Block 221 and Blocks 195 and 194 per Chancery Court order filed in Book EE, page 654. Section 2, a copy of the ordinance duly certified by the city clerk or town recorder shall be filed in the office of the recorder of the county and recorded in the deed records of the county.
Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2365 on its first reading.
Second.
Mr. McClung made the motion to approve the ordinance 2365 on first reading, and Mr. Myers seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, hearing none. All right, that's it. We'll continue on to our next item of business. Get a resolution removing the requirement of paying parking meters on Spring Street.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right, this is our annual resolution where we, our Christmas gift to the citizens and being able to park along Main Street and Spring Street where the parking meters are for free 2 hours. So, Mr. Holyfield?
Is there any reason why the actually parking lots aren't included in this? A few years ago, I got a ticket thinking it was all city meters, but no.
No, outside of, we've never done it, but there's no reason that I know.
The lots were not covered, so I got a ticket.
Well.
It's just a street.
We had to make up for extra money.
Is that why? I mean, is there a reason why? Would it bankrupt the city if we said the lots as well?
Sorry, Mr. McClung?
I think the reason is because they all used to have parking meters, didn't they? Didn't we? Our city lots had parking meters.
Yeah.
And so they were all covered when they had parking meters. It's just never been
Well, the lots had parking meters too, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I didn't pay the meter and I got a ticket because it was a lot, not on the street. So.
No, you can, we can change the resolution on there. That's no problem.
I think if we really want to give a gift, we should do it all, not
Okay.
just part of it. So.
Make an amendment.
I make amendment, we include all city parking lots as well as Spring Street and Main Street.
Second.
A second.
Okay.
One question.
Yes, sir.
That would not include transit. Transit would not fall under that.
I'm sorry, what?
Transit would not be included in that.
Branson?
Transit. You're as bad as I am.
Transit doesn't have any parking lots.
Get one of
No,
these.
that's true. Transit would not be included. That's a separate, that's city-managed parking lots, yeah, with the exception of transit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you want to word this?
I'm not wording anything.
Mr. Attorney?
Well, the first thing I'll say is Ida is the city clerk treasurer. It
Okay.
did not get changed. So you might.
We can't hear you. You got your
I'm
microphone?
sorry. Yeah, first thing I say is Ida is the clerk, city clerk treasurer. I pointed this out, but it did not get changed. So just change that, please. You're looking for monitored parking places by the city, is that it?
Yes.
city-owned parking lots and.
Well, we don't own the parking lot at the courthouse.
We lease it.
Well, then, for on-street metered parking and city,
All metered parking, because we do have meters.
yeah,
Even they don't work.
yeah, it doesn't have to be on-street, we just on-street and off-street metered spaces. Would that work?
Yeah, we still have meters in the parking lot. Yeah, just all metered parking, all metered.
Parking.
All city.
For, let's just say
city
for
metered.
all metered
Yeah.
parking places in Eureka Springs and delete the on-street.
Yeah,
Okay.
on all city metered, yeah.
Should it say exclusive of transit?
Transit's not metered.
It's not city.
I just don't want people to be,
Yeah, but this is all metered spaces.
okay. Yeah, they're not metered, that's correct.
Okay. Everybody in agreement with that?
Okay, so it should read resolution removing the requirements of paying all metered parking meters in the city.
Not in the city.
All city metered,
All city meters.
all city metered
City
space.
parking meters.
Yeah.
All city parking meters.
Okay, got it.
Okay. All right, we got a motion to, I guess, to amend
Yeah. I'll wait.
amend this. Is any further discussion? All those in favor, well, go ahead. It needs a call for special.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Harry Meyer,
Yeah,
Autumn Slane,
Yes.
Susan Gruding,
Yes.
Terry McClung.
Yes,
All right, now take a motion. Okay.
I make a motion that we assign this resolution a number and read it for passage.
Second.
Mr. McClung made a motion to assign the number and read the amended motion, read the amended resolution, and Mr. Overfield seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Terry McClung,
Yep.
Harry Meyer,
yeah.
Autumn Slane,
Yes.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Susan Gruding.
Yes.
Resolution number 875, a resolution removing the requirement of paying the parking meters establishing free 2-hour parking from December 1st through December 31st, 2024. Whereas the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, in an effort to promote business for the city during period of December 1st to December 31st, 2024, desires to establish free 2-hour parking in all city metered spaces in Eureka Springs during the period of December 1st through December 31st, 2024. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, that Section 1, free 2-hour parking is established on all city metered spaces in Eureka Springs during the period of December 1st to December 31st, 2024.
All right. Thank you. I think that's a good idea, Steve. Thank you. Okay, our next item is ordinance to temporarily lift the ban on confetti for New Year's Eve, 2024. Motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right. This is a request from the Eureka Springs Christmas Committee. This year, we're planning on having at midnight, instead of a ball drop like they do in Times Square, we're going to have a water droplet come down from the Basin Park down into it, and making a big deal out of it. We've got the state of Arkansas to agree to come up and help us film it. We're going to have, our next meeting, we'll do a temporary entertainment district for around the Basin Park. We're going to have probably a short little parade coming down there around midnight and shutting off the streets. So we're trying to make a big deal at midnight for Eureka Springs. This is going to be a one-time affair. And instead of fireworks or anything like that, we wanted to do just to show out, throw out when the ball hits or the water droplet hits, would be just a bunch of biodegradable confetti from the top of Basin Park. The Christmas committee has agreed to clean it all up and to remove all the Confederate streamers, and will be completed no later than January the 2nd. So this is now the ordinance reads a permanent outdoor confetti, but committees just wanted to do it just for that one time, for December 31st, January 1st. Mr. McClung?
It does not define it as to one.
This ordinance does not. This ordinance does not confine it to one time, but
it's permanent.
The committee was just going for one time.
Yeah, but this is different than that, which is all right. I mean, I don't care.
And
I'm fine with if it's the right kind of confetti. I don't care.
Mr. Attorney?
Well, I've got three things to say on this. Number one, there's no time on this ordinance because that gets a little arbitrary and capricious. I think the police have enough authority and ability to enforce this without the numbers being in there. There's nothing in the ordinances in the book that I know of that have anything that like numbers and dates and specific. Okay, number two, even though you say it's a one-time only, it says it's inaugural New Year's Eve. Rather than saying one time only, if this were a big success and we liked it, we would do it again next year. And instead of coming back here next year like a temporary entertainment ordinance, it would be a permanent type of thing so that anybody wanted to do this could. And you can't do selective law enforcement on some of these things. Is that if this group's allowed to do it, somebody else will say, well, why can't we do it? And you didn't tell us about it. I doubt if anyone will, but this at least allows them to say, hey, we're not being discriminated against.
I'd like to make a motion that we assign it a number and read it for passage, put it on its first reading.
Okay.
Second.
All right. We've got a motion and a second. Mr. Myers?
You know, the reason we passed the ordinance about confetti is because the street sweeper can't pick it up. All confetti, I think, is made out of paper. So I suppose it's biodegradable. I don't know about the dye, but it's still a sticky, nasty mess, especially if there's a little rain. I'm absolutely opposed to this, and I don't think it's going to be a squash and ruin New Year's Eve, but we won't have this mess. And there's no penalty for these people if they didn't clean it, don't clean it. It doesn't say anything about cleaning it up the next day for the city. No, this is all wrong. This is just repealing Ordinance 2351. It's no good.
All right.
Well, there's still a penalty in here for any person violating this ordinance shall upon conviction be guilty of misdemeanor and fine an amount not greater than $50. If there were additional costs, I think the city could go after them for the additional cost of cleaning it up.
What is a violation of this ordinance?
Well, if you used plastic confetti as opposed to biodegradable confetti.
Okay, but see, they want to do this one time, but the ordinance does not say New Year's Eve.
Well, I know it says one time only, but it also says it's inaugural.
Well,
inaugural.
This is not the ordinance.
I know. In fact, I never saw this one. I was asked to write it without ever seeing this piece of paper.
I see. All right.
Mr. McClung?
Who's going to catch you throwing the confetti? I mean, you're in a mob of people. Somebody going to rat you out? Boy, that no good so-and-so. He was throwing plastic. Yeah, come on. That ain't gonna happen.
No, it's not. Any confetti is going to be a mess.
All right, we got a motion and a second to sign this in number and read it for the first reading. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Okay, you hear that 4-1?
I said no.
Oh, you said no? 3-2? I'll vote yes.
Oh, it's
Assigning ordinance number 2366, an amendment to ordinance 2351 to ban outdoor confetti, whereas confetti, which is described as small pieces of streamers or streamers of paper, plastic, mylar, or metallic material thrown at celebrations, especially parades, pollutes the environment, whereas confetti pollution is wasteful, a detriment to the environment, hard to clean up, and a danger to wildlife. Whereas confetti, which is biodegradable and environmentally friendly, does not present the same problems as confetti that pollutes the environment. Now, therefore, be it hereby ordained by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Section 1, it shall be unlawful and an offense against the city for any person to throw confetti outdoors unless it is biodegradable and environmentally friendly. Section 2, any person violating this ordinance shall be, upon conviction, be guilty of a misdemeanor and fined in an amount not greater than $50.
All right. Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion for approval of ordinance 2366 on its first reading.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Mr. McClung made the motion to approve ordinance 2366 on the first reading. Mr. Holyfield seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
no.
All right, I vote aye. Okay. We'll hold off till the next meeting unless somebody wants to make a motion to read it. Okay. All right, that brings us up to ordinance for the annual property tax. Get a motion to discuss.
Move we discuss.
Second.
All right.
I move to sign this ordinance and number and read it.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to sign this ordinance and number and read it for passage. I don't have a copy of that ordinance. That's okay.
Signing ordinance number 2367, an ordinance levying a tax on all real and personal property in the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Be it ordained by the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, that Section 1, levy on personal property, a tax of 4.4 mils on the dollar is hereby levied on all personal property situated within the city limits of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, for the following purposes. Number 1, general fund, .0038. Number 2, Fireman's Relief and Pension Fund, .0006. Section 2, levy on real property, a tax of 4.4 mils on the dollar is hereby levied on all real property situated within the corporate city limits of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, for the following purposes. 1, general fund, .0038. Number 2, Fireman's Relief and Pension Fund, .0006. Section 3, collections. The 4.4 mills above levied on the personal property are to be collected at the regular collection of taxes by the collector of Carroll County, Arkansas, the same time and in the same manner that state and county taxes are collected in the year 2024. The 4.4 mills above levied on the real property are to be collected at the regular collection of taxes by the collector of Carroll County, Arkansas, at the same time and in the same manner that state and county taxes are collected in the year 2024.
Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2367 on 67 on its first reading.
Second.
Mr. McClung made the motion to approve 2367 on its first reading. Mr. Myers seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion we suspend the rules and read ordinance number 2367 by title only for its second reading.
I'll second that.
All right. Mr. McClung made the motion and Mr. Myers seconded. Read 2367 by title only on the second reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Autumn Slane,
Yes.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Terry McClung,
Yes.
Susan Grunning,
Yes.
Harry Meyer.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2367, an ordinance levying a tax on all real and personal property in the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2367 on its second reading.
Second.
Mr. McClung made a motion to approve 2367 on the second reading. Mr. Myers seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Susan Grunning,
Yes.
Harry Meyer,
Yes.
Terry McClung,
Yes.
Autumn Slane,
Yes.
Steve Holofield.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to suspend the rules and read ordinance number 2367 by title only on its third and final reading.
I'll second.
Mr. McClung made the motion to read ordinance 2367 on third and final reading by title only, and Mr. Myers seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Terry McClung,
Yes.
Susan Grunning,
Yes.
Harry Meyer,
Yes.
Autumn Slane.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2367, an ordinance levying a tax on all real and personal property in the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Mr. McClung?
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and approve ordinance number 2367 on its third and final reading.
Second.
All right, Mr. McClung made the motion to approve ordinance 2367 on third and final reading. Mr. Myers seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Harry Meyer,
Yes.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Susan Grunning,
Yes.
Terry McClung,
Yes.
Autumn Slane.
Yes.
All right.
Once a
Thank you all.
year, we got to tax
All right, that concludes our order of business on the agenda setting. Yes, sir.
We heard tonight from a lot of our citizens about the issues going on at the hospital. I feel like we need to put something on the agenda for the next meeting to discuss what's going on, what are options. Do we have any power to adjust that or address it or
We can have
investigate?
the chairperson come up and make a presentation to us and discussion. So, Mr. McClung?
I mean, that might be a place to start. I don't know. It's kind of like a bag of worms. It just, from what's been in the paper and what we see tonight. But we got to start someplace, so I suppose that's
I think that's a good
it.
start. And we'll just put it on the agenda. All right, anybody
Break him
else?
over the coals.
All right, city council comments. Mr. Holyfield, I'll start on your side.
All right. I felt so alone over here all night tonight, so I get to start first. I'd like to thank all the voters and
Proxy.
I'm sorry? Did you say me?
Yes, I
Oh, yeah,
did.
yeah. I'm sorry. I thought I'm talking out of turn. I'd like to thank all the voters on November 5th for voting to keep the CAPC. I know the wording was voting against it to keep it was very strange, but 329 voted to do away with the CAPC, 829 voted to keep it. I think it's an overwhelming vote of confidence by the community. The CAPC, like any organization, is not perfect. There's work to be done. I think we've heard from a lot of people, and I think we're looking forward to doing a lot of work, but I'm really happy with the vote. CAPC workshop, November 13th at 4 p.m. CAPC meeting is moved to November 21st. It's 4 p.m. because of the holiday. So also, I am a veteran, so I want to thank all my fellow veterans out there for their service to the country. That's it.
For your service.
Ms. Gurney?
Kind of agree with what Steve had already said. Something else that I was asked to join or participate in is a workshop, and Steve, maybe you heard of it, with CAPC and kind of a motorcycle group, just to try to get a budget in, see what their events look like next year, and they're about the same, I think, as we heard from Devin at the chamber. The Corvette weekend and Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue each shifted. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot more.
Ms. Slane?
Well, I think we're all celebrating that the CAPC has secured public support to fulfill its responsibilities. This presents a chance for an AP to evolve into an asset that the town can take pride in. We've had some interesting public comments today. Not one thing that we've even talked about at this table, and it seems that this has been going on since 2019 at the bare minimum. And at this point, I'm sad about that. Our hospital staff, they need protection. Our residents and patients need protection. This is our job and duty. Overreach and micromanagement will be talked about here, but it is our job to step in. If it's not ours, then whose? We've had issues of overreach of our commissions and chairs on the CAPC and now the hospital. The council, as I've said many times before, needs to have a quarterly review at the very minimum to talk about topics like this, because how does it get this out of hand? Every commission needs to be held to the Roberts Rule of Order, and this will maintain order and reduce the overreach. We have to do better about communicating with our commissions and the council. Our city and its citizens rely on it. And just a side note, I would prefer and ask that the next council tries to make an effort to stop invoking the emergency clause on our ordinances. Thank you.
Mr. Meyer?
Well, yeah, the CAPC is still here and had no doubt that it would be. But what disturbs me is that the CAPC is now paying for the guide that the Chamber of Commerce puts out, and that's a no-no in the laws pertaining to the CAPC. You can help some business advertise. They have to present the bill and present, the bill for their advertising, and then you can reimburse them for it. But, the chamber is there for itself. It's not there for the community. It's there for its members and its members alone. You can't advertise in that thing unless you're a chamber member. So that's the law. Now, tonight we decided to approve Confetti because, of course, it's tourism. And we all love tourism. And, of course, tourism supports this town. But what else supports this town is our infrastructure. And I met a couple guys from Fort Smith this weekend, Fort Smith got fined $800 million over their sewer plant because they neglected it so long. If we didn't have Simon here, we would have that same problem because it's been neglected. And I don't think, Simon's been catching hell because he's been pointing out this neglect. He got a big cussing out down at the sewer plant. I've had, over 20 years, I've had as many as 40 employees, and I've never used the kind of language that was used on Simon that day. That's all I've got to say.
My sincere heartfelt thanks to all the vets, past and present.
It's short and sweet. Thank you. I also want to extend my gratitude and thanks to all the veterans out there for everything that you've done in your service. It's a special day that we set aside for thanking you, and I don't think we do that often enough. And without the veterans in here, we wouldn't have the freedom that we come so hard to believe in and rely on and like. You know, it's hard to believe that the year's coming to a close here, and here we are in November, and Thanksgiving's just around the corner. You already noticed probably throughout the town, we're starting to get some Christmas lights up. So we're getting started. November the 15th and 16th, we'll have the plein air painters of Eureka Springs Holiday Show and Market at the Museum of Eureka Springs Art up at 44 Kings Highway. Also on the 16th and 17th, the following 2 days, we'll have round 3 of the Drift NWA Togie at the Great Passion Play. This is their round 3, and they're getting ready to finish out the year with this epic event to bring drifting to the mountain roads of Eureka. On 22nd of November, we got the Eureka Springs Historical Museum. We'll be hosting the all-new Jailbird Ball fundraiser at the end of the Ozarks. This event will include music, entertainment, dancing, mug shots, a silent auction of items from evidence room, and an immersive jailbreak experience with some of the best prison food you've ever tasted. Also on the 30th, we'll have the Shop Small in downtown Eureka. So join us downtown with a day of shopping and dining and entertainment while we're supporting our small business and through here. November the 30th, we'll have our tree lighting ceremony at Basin Park at 5 p.m. And following that, the Ignite Dance will present its first Nutcracker Ignite Dance Nutcracker Sweet Ballet performance in Eureka Springs at the Odd at 6 p.m. On the 5th of December, there'll be the 57th Annual Silver Tea, 1:30 to 3:30 at the Crystal Room Dining Room at the 1886 Crescent Hotel. And on the 6th and 7th, we'll have the Meet the Makers Art and Craft Show at Main Stage from 11 to 5. And on the 6th, we'll have something we all look forward to is a Chamber Christmas Parade, which will start at 6 p.m. on the 6th. And then on the 7th, the following day, we'll have the annual Eureka Springs Preservation Christmas Tour of Homes starting from 2 to 6. And they've got quite a few homes that will be on there. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Did Susan do her comments?
Beg your pardon?
Did Susan do her comments? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I did.
So moved.
Sorry.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Stick around.